Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Lloyd and I source cars for people on a professional basis. Although most of the cars I source are between £1,000 and £5,000, very often I've been asked to show something a little bit cheaper on the channel, and so I came up with No Budget Reviews, the series where we look at cars that you can buy in good condition with an MOT for under £1,000 and you can enjoy driving. We don't film this in an expensive manner, we don't use separate microphones, we don't use dual head tripods, we don't even use a DSLR, but we do have a lot of fun. Well viewers, here we are again. Not quite what I expected to be filming another one of these ULEZ non-compliance edition No Budget Reviews so quickly, but here we are. We almost were at the state that we were going to do this as an austerity edition one, but we're not. Mr. Coleman, the rubbish mechanic, is over here with a very shiny Alpha that will be appearing on the channel soon. But in the meantime, whilst he had a couple of problems with the Alpha fleet, he picked this up for the princely sum of 125 English pounds. This is a 2008 Vauxhall Corsa 1.3 CDTi SXi 3-door. Now, it is actually an SXi, despite the fact it's got these steel wheels on it with no trims. The car was used for many years by a driving school, and you can imagine that having alloy wheels on a driving school car really isn't the best idea if you're going to be doing 168,000 miles, which is what this car has actually done. So it has a couple of problems, shall we say. It's got an MOT, it's got tax, everything like that, but we'll identify a couple of those in a minute. First of all, we'll see that the car's had a little bit of paintwork in its life and a little bit of filler on this side, and as you can see, the rust is coming through there because that's where it's kind of gone. We've also got a little bit of different paintwork here, which you can sort of see, and of course we've got the classic car of mid-2000s slightly cloudy headlamps. I really don't know about bad on camera actually. One thing we will show you straight away, take a look at the engine bay. Yes, the glove box has gone, viewers. It fell apart and it's in the boot, so we shall have a look at that in a little while. You can tell this is the SXi as well because it's got these fancy door window switches which actually are translucent, and of course the sort of person who drives a Corsa will listen to a CD of R&B summer anthems. That's pretty typical of the sort of person who drives one of these Corsas. Second one to get this bonnet. Now I think you can see at the top of here, viewers, that one of the main problems with the Corsa D, and this is a Corsa D, which is the 2006 to 2014 model, is the fact that the leading edge of the bonnet goes really bad. The autofocus isn't helping me today, but it does. Also, if I point the camera down sort of here, you can sort of see that the radiator's not entirely straight. That's because the car's had a bit of front end damage, and yeah, the air conditioning no longer works. The car actually had a new engine about 18,000 miles ago, so it's not done 168,000 miles on this engine. This is the famous 1.3 General Motors stroke Fiat Forbidden Fuel engine. In this case, I think this is the 75 horsepower version. There were also other power outputs. This is just the basic one, and the fuel economy on these is actually very good. The two problems with these engines are the cam chain can fail, and also the injectors, which are Bosch injectors, and you have to use the Bosch injectors if you replace them. They're about £95 each if that goes wrong. So if you have an injector failure, that's going to cost you a fair bit of money to sort that out, which of course in the budget for £125 for one of these, yeah, there isn't really anything left to sort that out if it were to go wrong. But this engine's actually in very good condition, and this engine will be going to live in another car. The main reason actually why this car is coming off the road eventually, we're not going to do anything silly like an austerity edition. We're not actually going to kill it ourselves. We're not going to do anything like that. We don't need to do that because this engine is is about 2 years old. The plastic cover on there doesn't really tell the whole truth about how new the engine is. It's actually in really good condition. It sounds really sweet as well. Just bits of the rest of the car are not so good, and we'll show why the car probably does have to come off the road very shortly. Now, the EcoFlex badge on here suggests that the car is one of the extra kind of economical forbidden fuel cars in the Vauxhall range. You can see the glove box, or the remains of it, are in here. We also have a spare wheel from a Chevrolet Cruze, which makes me feel very happy because I used to own 2 of those. It was used also for trailer testing back in the day, and I think we even got the remains in this car of the dual controls in it actually too. Compared with the Corsa C, and my former housemate when I lived on my own had a Corsa C, it's quite a different type of car. I mean, even these door handles feel a lot more substantial. They're off the contemporary Astra H and Chevrolet Cruze and all kinds of other cars as well. I think even Insignia used them. So these cars are everywhere. I'm sure you know somebody who's got one, maybe. One of the things you could do is personalise these central air vents, and what I think has happened is there's been some kind of device fitted to one of the air vents, and it's just sort of crumbled apart over the course of many driving lessons. We can't really see the modified pedal box in there, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame, and all can we see the little shark that's on the side of the glove box. But never mind, as you can see, there is the mileage, 168,000. We've got air conditioning set in this car as standard. It won't actually work anymore because of the radiator, and I think I need to push the clutch to start this up, so I will do that, and we'll see another issue that this car's got. Yeah, starts up nice and readily, but yeah, the airbag lights are flashing, viewers, which again is something that not going to go through an MOT, so that's not going to be so good. And I think we've got an engine warning light on as well, which that's not good either. Although the engine is, you know, in good condition, there's some kind of electronic issue going on here. Yeah, it sounds fine. One thing I don't like about a lot of Vauxhalls of this age is these horrible one-touch indicators. I absolutely hate them, and of course the one-touch wiper stalk as well. They're really not my favourite. Another thing I don't like about the car is the lack of temperature gauge. You don't get one, and nor do you get one in an Astra H either. This radio is very familiar. This is also a sort of late Corsa C type or Astra H. They're all pretty similar actually, looking like this. Let's have a look at some illuminated door switches here. They're there for the windows, and they only were actually on the highest spec models, and this is being an SXi. And you can see here we've got fancy things like the illumination for the dash being variable on here. The twin fog lamps that the car would have had from new, I think it's still got them actually. Don't get a sunglasses compartment up here. I'm not going to test the air conditioning, so I don't think it works anymore. Fans does actually work, which I need because it's quite warm today actually. Yeah, there's not a huge amount more to sort of say really. Normal handbrake, normal gear lever, place for putting little coins. It's pretty idiot proof really in here. It's really not that difficult to kind of sort of display anything. I see if the radio isn't on. That's probably best really for me not getting any copyright infringement. I have got controls on the steering wheel for the stereo and things like that. And this is a leather trim wheel, although the leather's not in the best condition, but what do you expect for £125? Let's hop in the back and take a look. Okay viewers, this is Mr. Coleman's driving position. I thought these were supposed to slide. I thought, oh, they do. Right, good. I was a bit worried there. It's not the easiest experience I've ever had of getting in the back. And I banged my phone on the side of the seat, but if we go back, and I might have to give this a bit of help. There we go. Oh, it's not too bad in here. It's actually more headroom than I was expecting. This being the 3-door means that the rear windows are absolutely tiny. They don't open or anything. Now you can recline these rear seats if you want to, but I've only got one hand, so it might be a bit difficult to do it, but we will give it a try. There we go. Recline the seats as well. The boot's about 285 litres, so it's quite large for a car of this size and this time. I've also realised there's an illuminated footwell in the front. That's quite fancy. There's nothing sort of in the back apart from a cup holder, so I'm going to free myself from self-imprisonment. Right, I'm going to free myself from self-imprisonment, and we will demonstrate another reason why this car is coming off the road. Mr. Coleman has his windy gun. It's a fully charged battery. It's a fully charged battery with 300 Newton meters of torque in there, and the wheel studs are not coming off. They're just not coming off. What's happened is underneath there with the thread, the wheels and tyres have been off so many times, particularly on this side, being a car from a driving school, that you just can't get them off anymore. And you'd have to, I don't know, gas weld them off or something.
Yeah, just gas weld them off. And well, if you want to have a feel of that, how warm it is, you can just drop the end of the socket there.
Ooh.
That's how tight they are. So.
Yeah, so with that in mind, it's really best that somebody doesn't get their hands on this car and try to drive it around, because if you get a puncture, well, the only place the car's going is on a flatbed back to a scrapyard. So yes, you know, we're not going to kill the car because the engine is only on 80,000 miles. And it's sold, so we're going to do that. But you know, it came close to doing the austerity edition to get rid of cars which are not practical to be back on the road. But instead, I shall go for a drive, and Mr. Coleman will polish his Alpha. So here we are, viewers, going for a little drive of this former driving school Corsa. I imagine a lot of you took lessons in a Corsa when you were learning to drive. I certainly did. Took lessons in a 1994 Corsa B 1.4 GLS and a 2001 Corsa C 1 litre Expression. Well, I can just hear the flywheel is rattling as well in this, so yeah. Maybe not the best candidate for, you know, longevity. The basic engine in these was a 1 litre 3-cylinder Family Zero engine with 60, and then later from late 2010 onwards, 65 horsepower. The 1.2, which was one of the big sellers, was 82, and then 86 horsepower after the 2010 midlife facelift. There was also a 1.4 litre version of that Family Zero engine, which first of all developed 90 and then 100 horsepower. With the black edition, a bit later on, that was after the facelift, there was a 1.4 turbo that came along, 120 horsepower. And then there were two 1.6 Family 1 turbo engines in the VXR and the VXR Nürburgring edition. In the VXR, the 1.6 turbo developed 190 horsepower. The Nürburgring edition was 210 horsepower. With the forbidden fuel cars like this one, started off bottom of the range was a 75 brake horsepower version, and then there were 90 pre-facelift and 95 post-facelift engines. The 1.7 Circle L engine, which was originally fitted to the Opels and Vauxhalls from about 91 onwards, was around forever. I think it's a 1.7 Circle L engine, cam belt engine, unlike these 1.3 forbidden fuel engines. That developed 125 horsepower pre-facelift, and then after the facelift in 2010, that developed 130 horsepower, the same engine I used to have in my old Chevy Cruze. I mean, the car drives okay enough, but the suspension's pretty worn, and the flywheel's making noise, but you know, I don't really know what you expect for 125 pounds particularly. Yeah, the engines for one of these is quite quiet, really. I actually sourced one of these for a client quite a few years ago now, because you know, we don't really talk about diesels anywhere on the channel or anywhere in London, because that's the one where it's really bad, or actually Birmingham, where we're not too far from today. Yeah, you can't really drive one of these anywhere in the centre of Birmingham, anywhere within the middleway. You just can't do it unless you want to pay, which is a bit of a problem, and that's why we are on No Budget Reviews ULEZ Non-Compliance Edition. That's what we do, really. We talk about the things that other people don't want to talk about. So, the car is actually very easy to drive. The steering is very light. It's an electric power steering system in this car. Very similar underneath engineering to things like the Fiat Grande Punto and I think the Vauxhall Combo of the time after about 2012 was based on this platform as well, which yeah, sorts of interesting cars based on this platform. The brakes are a bit warped, viewers. That's because we've been at the driving school, and yes, things like the flywheel and the brakes are, yes, interesting. This engine pulls very well though, considering it's only the 75 brake horsepower version. I have driven the 95 brake horsepower version, and that was quite fast. Ride isn't too bad over these speed bumps, not too bad. The SXi actually has different suspension from a lot of the others, and the VXR, of course, is different suspension from that, but it isn't too bad. Maybe at some point it's had some new springs and shocks in it, and they put some standard ones in instead. Gear change is nice and easy. There's no real problem. It feels like an Astra gearbox, and you know, actually having owned an Astra H ourselves last year, you know, one of the good things about the car was the gearbox. I can see the appeal of these. Not with the forbidden fuel engine, of course, because you know, it's not that good. But yes, generally, why not? You know, you don't have a lot of money. Pick one of these up with the family's air engines. You know, 1 litre, 1.2, 1.4. The engine actually continued in the Corsa E, which was just basically a redesign of one of these, same platform really, until 2018, and quite late on in 2018 as well. And then of course the Corsa E we have at the moment is the Corsa F Corsa E, which is really confusing. It's an electric Corsa, but it's the F model because it's actually the 6th generation of Corsa. First generation was also sold as the Nova. Right, yes, we will be talking about trim levels, but there are so many of them, I didn't actually start at that. We will park up at a nice sensible place and talk about the extraordinary number of trim levels you could get on a Corsa D. Right, viewers, time to look at some Vauxhall Corsa D trim levels, and there are a lot of them. Let's go. Active, Active Plus, Black Edition, Breeze, Breeze Plus, Club, Design, Design in Touch, Energy, Excite, Exclusive without an E on the end, Expression, Life, Limited Edition. That's not really, well, they made millions of these, so I don't know how you can call it a limited edition, but there we go. S, SE, SRI, Sting. It was a trim level from the 1980s viewers. SXi, like this one, SXi in Touch. I think that was to do with the sat-nav you could get on the facelift models, built-in sat-nav. VXR and the VXR Nürburgring edition. So viewers, should you consider a Corsa D? Well, I don't see why not. I mean, you know, they're not all in this sort of condition, and, you know, there are obviously lots of them available for no budget reviews money. Obviously, make sure the cam chain's not gone. Make sure that it's been regularly serviced, and make sure there isn't lots of rust, particularly on the unaltered bonnet. And if there's rust anywhere else, then that means the car's probably been in an accident, which isn't very good. And make sure the wheel nuts come off, otherwise, yes, you'll probably end up having to scrap the car, which is not good. Anyway, thank you ever so much indeed for watching this edition of No Budget Reviews. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, to like this video, and to leave a comment below. Yes, it does really help. One of the things you can do is switch on notifications to meet all the new uploads, and that really is something we appreciate very much. And I will see you soon for more No Budget Reviews.